What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. That's what Juliet says in Act 2, Scene 2, but I don't know if I totally agree with her. She's saying that any name that would happen would be just as helpful. No, I think we all know that Capulets and Montagues are pretty important names. And oftentimes, when I'm talking to thought leaders about their offerings, I say how important it is to have a snappy name, but we don't always know why, and we don't really have time to get into it a lot of times in our strategy sessions. But today, we are getting into it. Today, we are talking about why it is so important to make sure that your products and your processes for your business have snappy names. And I cannot think of someone who would be better to talk to about this topic than any other than Lynn Tickner. She is the founder of Ink and Key, and they specialize in naming. So I'm going to bring up Lynn right now, this very minute. She's coming up to the stage. Hello, Lynn. How are you?
Hey, Annie. Good morning. I'm doing fine. And you?
Excellent. So, Lynn, my first question is why do the names of products and processes and brand names, why do they matter so much? Like, why is it important to have a snappy name for a offering that you might put out there?
That's such a great question. If you were talking specifically about an offer, um, something that I share with my clients, I'm sure you share the same thing, that when you name something, it becomes something. All of a sudden, it's elevated, it's more important, it's a thing, right? And so if you just say, hey, come work with me, it's like, well, I don't know, that doesn't give you a lot of credibility. But if you say, hey, if you start with my phase one process and you have this name of phase one process, then people are more like, oh, she's more organized, right? And that comes back to clarity, how people will step into something that's more clear, defined, and named. So, yeah.
Yeah. I That's really funny that you said that because it makes me think I just saw something on Threads the other day where a second grade teacher was sharing how they would always lose their glue sticks in the class. Like just kids would lose glue sticks. And then they started naming the glue sticks and they were like, who's got Ernest? We need to find Ernest. And then like once they actually named the glue sticks,
I
they
love
stopped
that.
losing them so much because yes, we like human nature, we think it's a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, so if you think about it like, oh yeah, I'm going to meet with you twice a month and we're going to talk through what your content marketing strategy is. That is different than actually saying, hey, here's what's going to go on in our spotlight strategy one day. We're going to
Right.
spotlight what your strategy is. We're going to figure that out during the course of the day, right? So then all of a sudden it feels like a thing, right?
Right.
And so it has some weight to it and it has some import to it. When
Mm-hmm.
did you realize that this was an issue that a lot of companies needed help with, right? Because you offer like specific naming services, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I won't go into my whole backstory, but I started out naming just accidentally, trying to make ends meet. And I started joining, I found out about online naming contests,
Oh,
joined
really?
them. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And I started, winning these contests, and it's like, okay, $500. The business owner picked my name. We've got groceries this week.
Yeah.
And so, but what I saw was business owners struggling to come up with the name, but more importantly, struggling to make the name decision or making what I determined kind of bad decisions, right?
Right.
Or not having the right criteria in place to make a decision. And I thought, gosh, I could really help some of these people because I really did want to. And that's when I started pulling together my team. And that was sort of part of how I started my company, was just thinking, I want to be in a place where I have a small closed team where we can interact and collaborate with these business owners and walk them through this process and just be on board to help them find the name that is the absolute best fit for them and that will serve them well long term.
Right. Now, a lot of times when I'm talking to clients, I'll say, you need to give it a name. It needs to have a snappy name. But of course, we know that there's got to be a little bit more strategy behind it, right? It
Right.
can't just be cute or clever. It's got to be, like you were saying before, it's got to be clear, right? You
Right.
also are a story brand certified guide. just like I am. So we understand the value of clarity and how that really translates to revenue. So can you help like explain, maybe give an example of how a strategic name, not just like one that's cute or clever, but one that really that you and your team came up with that helped a business owner actually increase their revenue or sort of move their needle on whatever their goal was.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of strategy that goes on with naming, which I know that everyone everywhere all the time everybody's talking about AI, right? And so
Yeah.
a lot of people will say, I don't need to use a naming service or agency. Let me just go to AI, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that is AI is, as we know, like especially if you use Chat GPT, AI tells us what we want to hear a lot of times, right? And it's so kind and helpful. But what you need is humans to push back and help you figure out, first of all, what's your strategy? Because when you think of a name, there's a lot of different ways you can describe a name. One of the ways I like to describe a name to help people understand how the name relates to the overall brand. Like if someone is naming a business, the name is the container that needs to hold everything your brand is going to become. So it's not, your name isn't your brand. Um,
Mhm.
your name is going to hold it. But the thing that's really interesting about naming is that uh, over time, you can refresh your logo, right?
Mhm.
You can change the words on your website. You can redesign your website, but the name is going to be there. It's like the anchor. So
Yeah.
it's also the door. People walk through that door of the name to get to everything else your brand is going to become. And so one of the things that we do with people in our process is help them uh, understand first and foremost that your name can only wear one hat, maybe
Mm.
two, but usually just one. Uh, People have trouble deciding on a name because they want their name to wear too many hats. They
Yeah.
want to do all the things that your brand is going to eventually do. So you've got to use your imagination. And so one of there's multiple things that you need to do strategically as you're working out this naming process. But one of the things is to figure out, will my name in the future have to fit into a system of my
Mhm.
brand, right? Because as we know, working with brands as story brand guides, when people are first starting a business, they imagine what their brand is going to become, but usually brands evolve and change. They're not static. They're not going to just sit still in one place. So you need to make sure that you choose a name that can fit into a system later on so that you don't end up cattywampus, because people change minds about what they want to offer, and they might increase their offerings, they might change what they offer, they might serve different customers. So there's all these things that you have to put into place. So I know you asked me for an example. This
Yeah.
is this is an example of a healthcare brand that we
Okay.
named a few years ago, and this is one type of name. It's a made up name,
Okay.
coined name. So this was a OBGYN who her heart was to serve postpartum mamas that were not getting the care that they need. So it was a
Okay.
concierge postpartum practice. So, but she wanted it to be feminine, and just a beautiful name. So we named it Lily V, Lilivy. And
Mhm.
so the original name was Lily V postpartum. But one of the checks, as I mentioned, is, can the name Lily V fit into a system later on if you decide to change, right? Well, she did change. She's growing. She's just absolutely taking off. So Lily V postpartum became, then she offered like Lily V menopause. Then she changed
Mm.
it to Lily V health. And now she has a brick and mortar. And it's this whole, it's amazing. But the name Lily V has stuck, and you can add on, what we call these kind of product definers or other words to the name that will
Yeah.
still define what it is. So the overall umbrella brand is Lily V, but it has the ability to hold all the things that she's becoming as her brand evolves. So
Wow.
yeah.
Um, that's really interesting because yeah, I mean, I just think about all those little things that you do when you first start either with a brand or a product or something, and um you think that you're good because you get the domain name and you get the social media handles and you think like, great, I'm done. And so you're saying, first of all, there's more to it than that, right? With your name. And second of all, that you don't want to that there's sort of an art and something that needs to and a science as well, because you want to figure out for this specific brand, does it need to be something that's general that could grow? Does it need to be something that's more specific? Let's not get all the handles and let's not get all the URLs and all that kind of stuff until we actually have some conversations. And many AI platforms, it sounds like, are just going to kind of tell you what you want to hear. And and it may or may not be actually giving the pushback that you and your team have had, or have the examples under your belt that you all have had. So so that's really interesting. How does it work? I mean, like, what is your process like? So there's you, there's other people involved. Like, how does this process work? And how do you kind of recommend that people can steal some of it for when they're trying to figure out, like, what is the name of the process that they use, or a new product that they're going to unveil maybe in the new year, right? Like, what are some of those steps that you take clients through?
That's a great question. So
Oh, thank you.
we have, you're welcome. We have a automated process so that I'm a firm believer in making things as easy as possible for people.
Yeah.
So, like, if someone who's listening right now, if you want to start a naming project with us, you can start it. And within 48 hours after we get your questionnaire, you're going to be invited to a project and start viewing names. And all you have to do is go to inkandkey.com, inkandkey.com. You go to services, hit naming, and you just click on the package you want. You pay for it, you get your questionnaire, and off we go. On the back end, I have an 18-person naming team, and you will not get all 18 people on your project. They're very good. We've been together almost 10 years now, almost everyone on the team. So we're a happy little creative family. And um, people on the team are very good at self-selecting as far as what projects they think they're going to excel in and what projects it might not be a good fit for them. But usually between 7 to 12 people will be on your project, depending on other things. And when you join the naming project, which is, we run our projects on Slack, you will start seeing private channels, and each person in their private channel will greet you. It is, it's a very, the reason I set up my process the way I did is because I wanted lots of human interaction, lots of collaboration. I wanted the business owner to feel part of the process. And I will tell you, overwhelming feedback after doing over 500 naming projects. I'm not even sure what number we're at now. We might be close to 600. People say, I love your team. Can I join? Because people have so much fun. So we've actually had clients to say, can I join your naming team? Because this is so much fun.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, what if you did one of those full circle things where if people come up with the name, you give them $500?
oh, yeah. Oh,
Fun.
yeah. I love
Full
it. I love
circle.
it. Full circle. That's right. I know. It's really fun. But all right, pull me back in. Pull me back in.
Okay. So, yeah, so that was just sort of the question is, like, what is that process, right? So you're saying that you have a very automated process. This is something that you've done hundreds and hundreds of times, right? So let's say that, so as we are recording this, it is just before Thanksgiving, right? So if I were to spend like a day head down over the course of the long weekend, and I want to implement some of the things that you and your team have learned, like,
Mhm.
what are some of the tips and tricks for coming up with not just a snappy name, but a strategic name for a yeah, just for a product or a process?
Mhm. There's a lot of things I could mention. One thing that especially business owners will lose sight of, and this can be true for a name, for a logo, for all sorts of brand assets, is it's not for you. And even your messaging is not for you, it's for your customers. So you have to know your audience first and foremost. Just like with anything, like with brand messaging, you have to know, who are you talking to, what's going to resonate with them. That's very important. A name for, people who are engineers is going to be very different than a name that's designed for artists, right?
Right.
So you have to think about, who is your audience. You have to know your audience. Also look at competition and see what other names are out there in your industry. And then you have to decide, do I want to stand out? Do I want
Mhm.
to blend in? If everyone is using this type of name, then maybe I'm going to be out of the box and I'm going to use this kind of name, right? Another thing is just to remember that, like with any decision, uh, you have to set expectations ahead of time, and you have
Mm.
to set up parameters and set up objective criteria, because the tendency is want to go subjective and like, oh, I love that name, you
Oh,
know, which you know, the whole love at first sight thing is such a myth in naming. And along with so many other namers that I know, people that are experts, everyone sort of tries to take this myth down as much as possible, because it causes a lot of disappointment, and it makes it
mm,
very emotional, because people fall in love with one name and then they find out, oh, someone else is using the trademark, you know, in my trademark class, so I can't use it. So
right.
uh, you have to set up objective criteria, decide what job do you want your name to do. If there are
Mhm.
multiple decision makers, this is so important. Decide ahead of time, like maybe two or three things that, you know, if this name checks this box, and this box, then we're going to all agree that we're going to consider it, right? We're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
move our emotions out of the way and agree that we are going to consider this, because choosing a name is an objective marketing decision. And you can say, hey, does this name have the possibility? Does it have what it takes? Does it have the bones to hold what my brand is going to become?
Yeah.
Because this is a big one. People will judge a name based on an association. Like, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you see this? But the problem is they're not looking at the brand that is coming in the future. They're
Yeah.
just looking at a word on a screen. But that's not how we encounter brands in real life. We
Right.
encounter brands in real life with all the other things, right? With the messaging and the assets and the person and the feelings and the experience and all of this. And so you have to use your imagination, and you have to make sure that you're not judging, you know, because like I might look at a random name and it might remind me of the second grade boy that pulled my hair, and that kind of makes me mad. So I don't like that, right? But nobody else is going to have that association. So it's like our brains automatically want to, if we encounter something unfamiliar, we want to connect it with something that's familiar, which is why we come up with these associations. But you have to agree as a group, we're not going to judge a name or take a name off the table just because of a subjective association. We're going to think, okay, it's our job as we build the brand, starting with you know, the name as the anchor. As we build the brand, it's our job to teach people what this brand means by all the other things that we do, including our story brand messaging and the visual assets and all the other things. So, yeah.
Wow. That I love that idea of taking the subjective nature out of it, because it is so true. We so often think like, oh, if I like it, then my audience is obviously going to like it. And I know that from 15 years of performing in front of an audience with no script, like I would imagine something would pop into my head that I would think, oh, this is going to go over so well. And then you say it and crickets, right? And so it's the kind of thing where like you think something's going to go over so well. And people don't usually, when you're creating a product or when you're creating a brand, you don't always have the opportunity to say it in front of a theater full of 500 people to know whether or not it works, right? So I love that idea of actually finding some objective ways that you can go about it. Don't you have something, right? Like you have some thing that people can download to help them out with their naming, right? Can you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that?
Yes, it's just a little video series that I made.
Oh, I doubt it is little.
Okay, it's big. It's
I'm
huge.
sure it is monumental and important.
Yes, it is. I believe you find it if you go to my naming page. There's a little box that will slide out, or you can go, if you go all the way to the junk drawer to the footer of my website, you go to the resources page, you'll also find it there. But it is a video series of me just walking you through some basic naming principles, things to avoid. Very helpful, very fun. And a little comedy also is involved in that, because the backstory of that video is that my son, who is a videographer, came over to film me, and we had to film, I think there's 5 videos. So we had to film all 5 at once. So I was zooming in and out of my bedroom and changing clothes for each video. And being a young man, he wasn't paying attention to my hair. So as you continue through the series, like my hair gets more and more a little bit crazy because pulling sweaters on and off and stuff. And I
Great.
think to check. So just take a look at the hair if you download those, and enjoy.
So this is how you will know whether or not you've gotten through the full video series is how good does Lynn's hair look? If it doesn't look disheveled, you're not there yet. You have to keep watching.
Keep
You don't
going,
know everything there is to know yet
keep going.
about naming.
There you go.
So there we go. There we go. Okay. So again, you could go to inkandkey.com and there's a naming page there. You'll be able to download, or I guess you don't download the video series, but give them your email address, you'll get access to that video series. So that way you can have a nice, fresh, new name on your system or on your process. Because Donald Miller says in Building a Story Brand that here, I'll actually read it to you.
All
Hold
right.
on a sec. Let's see here. So once you create your process or agreement plan, right? So once you come up with your plan, consider giving them a title that will increase the perceived value of your product or service, right? That is right from Building a Story Brand. We've seen that. Lynn specifically has seen that hundreds and hundreds of times with her naming projects that she has done for her clients. So it's not just enough to give a snappy name. I know many times when I'm talking to clients and we're figuring out what their offerings are, we're figuring out what their content piece is. I talk about how important it is to have a snappy name. It's also important that it's strategic. And by giving something a name, it increases the value. So thank you so much, Lynn, for sharing with us today how you can use naming to increase the value of what it is that you as a thought leader or your business can offer. So thank you so much for Lynn. Lynn, any final little tip that you want to give us on naming? Like one thing, definitely do not do this. You already said definitely do not just go into ChatGPT and ask that because you might get a response that's just part of your echo chamber. What is another thing? Absolutely do not do it when you are naming.
Mm. Do not think that if you buy the domain that you can own the name and use it legally.
Ah,
Means nothing. And also, don't, if you have, let's say, three names that you're trying to decide between, don't ask friends and families, hey, do you like this name?
yes. Instead, you should ask your audience or your potential audience, right?
Yeah, but again, you don't want to say, do you like it? Because that's just bringing up
Too
subjective.
subjective.
Yeah,
Got it.
you want to say, what does this name make you think of? Or things like that. More questions that will get you broader answers instead of, yes, I like it. No, I don't like it, because that doesn't really mean anything. So,
Love it. Love it. Okay, great. Lynn, you are a wealth of knowledge, specifically about naming. I love it. Thank you so much. Head to inkandkey.com to find out more about naming, to get that video series, and make sure that you create a name for your project, your content initiative, and your processes. Thank you so much.
thanks, Annie.